who Billy Meier is and how this all began for this guy, and then we'll go into a whole bunch of other stuff that I've been itching to ask you about.
Sure. Billy Meier is a now 74-year-old man living in Switzerland. He is Swiss. He claims that his first contacts with extraterrestrial human beings, now known as the Plejaren, indeed did start when he was a 5-year-old boy in 1942. He has maintained those contacts up to and including this time. He still meets with these people, which means he goes on their ships with them. They meet in his office with him. They have been seen by other people. There's well over 125 witnesses to the UFO part of this, including 5 or 6 other photographers, which also includes a Swiss skeptic who got quite a surprise when he indeed, came upon the UFOs in the sky when he was out with his own photography equipment one day. And Meier has published information from these people, starting actually in about 1951, when he was 14, he published his first open letter to people, warning of coming events which are now upon us. In 1958, he did likewise, another open letter, and he's continued to publish scientific, environmental, world event-related information, and it is probably just the most amazing story in human history when one gets right down to it. So anything I can tell you about it, feel free to ask, and I will do my best.
Yeah, well, there's so much to this story. I have a million questions. And, Michael, you're no stranger to this, but there's always been a high controversy over Billy Meier and his footage, and yet, of all the pictures, photographs, and videos that he's taken, they're yet to be fully debunked or discredited as being legitimate and authentic. Now, I noticed on your website, theyfly.com, there's a good chunk of these pictures and videos that we can all access. It's a pretty good database. But That's not all of the photos and videos available. Am I right in saying that?
It's true. I mean, not by a long shot. Meier had taken hundreds of photos. He had taken 8 films, 1 video clip. We have the video clip on the site. And while, I have to say this, you're correct. It is the best, clearest, most abundant physical evidence and evidence that has been examined by scientific experts. It's been authenticated. It's never been debunked. All the claims that this guy used models or this, that, and the other thing have just been a bunch of hot air. And none of these people have ever really gone over to investigate for themselves, to talk to Meier, to talk to the other witnesses, the other photographers. And strangely enough, while I certainly am glad to answer any questions I can about that evidence, I think, and it may surprise you to hear me say this, we have to now, in our world, start looking far beyond UFO photos and those types of things to understand the meaning, the purpose. Why has there, if there indeed has been any extraterrestrial contact, why has it occurred, and what was the purpose of it? And I think you will see that, just the phenomenon of UFOs, when one really looks into the information, and Meier's published plenty, you're going to find out that most of it is not extraterrestrial. And the Meier stuff is, we're very well satisfied about that. And the reasons for it are contained in his information. So anything you want to discuss is open as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's really great. There is quite a bit I want to talk about some of what he has learned from, who he terms the Plejarens, the information they've passed on, and in particular, the prophecies that he's written down in regards to these encounters. Is there a database, Michael, where we can find all of the videos and pictures yet online?
Well, actually, in my section on the evidence, there's a link on the right-hand panel of my website to the evidence. I'm trying to think how did I put it there. UFO proof and UFO evidence. And you'll get to a place where you will have links to lots of the information plus photos and films. And then, of course, you can also go onto YouTube and just search for Meier. You find that people put up clips of his films and stuff like that. It's pretty impressive. The problem is, and it really is a problem these days, a lot of people who have not had a lot of experience with film in the past and understanding photography and film and the difficulties connected with that when you go back actually to the 60s when Meier first started taking his photographs, they're too familiar with digital this and Photoshop that. So a lot of people think, oh, it's a model or it's a special effect or that. Meier's stuff was taken with very ordinary, sometimes broken, regular old film camera equipment. And there's some evidence from his early days in India that is absolutely startling. I have an article on my website about that, and I'll be able to tell you trying to think the name of that article. I might be able to just bring it up. Oh, yeah, India, 1964. It's called The Foundational Evidence. And that'll be an eye-opening article for a lot of people when you see what, we're talking about. So if people are going to do their own research and thinking, it takes thinking to get through a lot of the noise and debunking, unfortunately, of a lot of the people out there. You're going to find that this is a remarkable, unparalleled story, truly. And everything else that you will find, literally everything else in the world of so-called UFOs, is basically dead-end material. It does not, it cannot go anywhere because there is no evidence, no tangible, concrete, present evidence that will lead to a definitive UFO or extraterrestrial source, and that's something that people will have to find out for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. So theyfly.com really is the portal to all things Billy Meier, and of course YouTube always is a portal for anything. This is a really truly fascinating case. I think it is really important because there's just so much data here. Now, speaking about all the photos and videos, I've seen a lot of these videos myself. Not just recently because we're getting together, but over the years. I mean, if you're interested in the UFO phenomenon, you have heard of Billy Meier. I just think it's really important for all of our listeners out there to know where they can access this stuff. So if you're listening, go on to theyfly.com and check out some of these photos and videos and see for yourself because, where you may see some of these pictures and videos and think to yourself, wow, this, I'm not so sure. This seems a little hokey or wonky. There are some videos there that are truly incredible, and I want to talk about that stuff, Michael. You don't mind if I call you Michael?
Please do.
Great.
The only time I really request Mr. Horn is if my daughter or when my parents were alive. No, I'm kidding you. I like Michael. Leave it at that.
Right on. Well, what I was getting to was the fact that there was some serious video analysis that had taken place by some experts, and I think it was in the name of your new movie, is it The Silent Truth of Revolution?
Silent Revolution of Truth.
Silent Revolution of Truth. There were some experts on that film. Is there not, talking about the video evidence?
Well, on that film, what we did is I referred, I think, quite possibly to special effects experts who had authenticated the film.
Right.
And there were guys from a company called Uncharted Territory.
Right.
And they said, really, these are not models. We know models, and this is not done with models. And these are the guys that won the Academy Award for Independence Day. So they had a pretty good take on it. And we showed analysis that had been done, some of the analysis had been done on the sound recordings and the metal samples, different physical evidence present in the case. So you're going to be able to, make an informed opinion and draw from real experts, not people in the UFO field.
Yeah.
Real experts who looked at this stuff, listened to it, scoped it, analyzed it, and who said, well, heck, this is not a hoax. These are not models. It's not special effects. And I actually shared the stage. I was giving a presentation in L.A. in the 90s and invited a physicist to come in who had examined Meier's evidence. And this guy's name is David Froning. He, at the time that he was first consulted about Meier around 1980, he already had spent 25 years at the top secret level in defense industry, astrophysicists, space program stuff. And his jaw dropped when he saw Meier's stuff and when he read the material, and he said, whoever is advising this man is scientifically highly knowledgeable. And he said that he and his associates, a small group of scientists he works with, believe they may have made breakthroughs in their understanding of zero-point energy and hyperspace propulsion from Billy Meier's material. The real tragedy so far, if we can just call it that, is that the suppression of this information, the suppression of the Meier case, has been so thorough and so ongoing for decades to keep it from people. That is the crime.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Well, I'm pretty sure I know why it is, because it is on various fronts for these reasons. For the military, governmental, corporate world, it keeps control intact, as it does for the religious world, because the information, there's 26,000 pages of information, more. The information in the Meier case is so threatening to all of the control systems in our societies. It deals with factual, true information that talks about how our religions were really formed, who the gods of our ancient belief systems were, how things work in our world to suppress and control people. And this isn't Alex Jones. This is not, conspiratorial stuff. And look, he has some stuff. I'm sure it's right. But, Meier's stuff is unerringly right. From everything we can test out, he comes up straight on 100%. So the powers that be don't want that material out. They don't want people realizing that the political structures, the games of politics, are absolutely useless and destructive. On top of being useless, they are futile. They only continue to perpetuate the grief that they create. They don't really solve problems. Religions are based, unfortunately, on delusions, fantasies, myths, lies, and people with big control issues. And then you have the next biggest opponents to the Meier case who do the most damage actively all the time, and that's the UFO community.
Right. Now, it's interesting because growing up, I had seen a lot of these videos that he had shown to the world, and I thought to myself, I'm not sure if I buy it. But the older I got and the more research I put into physics, anti-gravity, quantum physics, that sort of thing, the properties of electromagnetism and the effects that had on physical bodies in terms of movement. I think even in one of the videos I saw about Billy Meier, there was a little device, I think a toy that was developed over the last few years or in the 90s called, the Levitron, that uses a spinning magnet.
I showed that in the film, that's right.
Right, yeah, and it has that natural magnetic wobble, which you see in a lot of these Meier films. I think it's really interesting that, as time does go on, and in direct connection with the social commentary that you're making here about what Billy was saying to the world about God and the social structure itself and the powers that be and the controlling elite of religions, it seems to be a common theme that's it's been a long time coming, but has been unraveling for the common man recently over the last 10 years specifically, and he's been saying this sort of thing for a really long time. Now, I'm not taking Billy Meier's corner here. I'm not a spokesman for anybody. You are.
Right. Yeah,
but it just seems a little uncanny that all this stuff is kind of all tying in, because this isn't the first time that stuff that he's said has kind of come to fruition.
Oh, no. The prophecies are coming down hard and heavy now. All this stuff with the weather and the climate. There was just an article about the BP oil spill. They're now finding the oil all over the floor of the ocean, killing off stuff. That Meier was told that back in May of last year, that this was happening, that it was being covered up, and that it's only going to lead to some really, really bad environmental destruction. It's going to wreak havoc also with climate change. He foretold that these environmental intrusions that we've been doing for decades would really cost us with wildlife, animals, birds, fish, and we know that there's all these die-offs that are taking place. He talked about the dangers of petroleum extraction in the 70s and how it would lead to more earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. All of this stuff and more. I've got one article on my site called Will Humanity Wake Up in Time? We have well over 100 specific scientific discoveries or events